3 fungal infections. I had a severe aspergillus infection in my sphenoid sinus that almost killed me. And then I had 2 antibiotic-resistant staph infections in my nose, Marcon infections. I'm still battling a Marcon infection now in my sinuses. My husband had his hip degenerate and had a severe emersent infection that went into his bone that he had to pay $600 a week for antibiotics to go into his arm for 7 weeks. Eye pain, bronchitis, heart palpitations, diarrhea. You'll have a burning sensation in your throat. You may be diagnosed with Barrett's esophageal. It's from the hydrogen sulfide burning your esophagus as you're breathing. Don't expect your doctors to understand this. They're not toxicologists. So we went through the mill, seeing doctor after doctor after doctor, and our lungs sound fine. You need to research the toxins that are associated. And this is one gas that comes from manure storage. There's over 200. DEP, when I called them and told them I think my family's being poisoned from hydrogen sulfide, and I was concerned about the farmers because they steal the building and all of a sudden their hogs started dying and I didn't know what it was from. They were dying most likely of asphyxiation from hydrogen sulfide poisoning. It's a heavy gas. It's just a ground level. It takes 18 to 36 hours to dissipate. So if you're living next to a facility like this, you're going to get high and low parts per million. And as the more the manure starts to increase, the worse the parts per million are going to get. And when they agitate the pit, that's why the smell is so strong, because that hydrogen sulfide is a high parts per million when you're smelling it after that. We went through the same issue with our community. I just need to tell you guys that those who are fighting against these factory farms are, I think, the true Americans, because God did not design animals to be stuck in facilities and pumped up with chemicals, and our soils to be depleted and our food to be damaged. And I think there's a dividing line that God is asking us to decide which line in the sand we're going to stand on. We can either stand with creation and what we're here for, or we cannot. We can turn towards greed and say, I don't really give a crap about my neighbor. And I'd rather have money, and I don't care if this causes division. Scripture strictly tells us that things that are not of God cause division and factions. And this has caused a huge divide in our township. People have been retaliated against for speaking out. It's just sad to see that, this is what communities all over America are fighting against. And this is part of our liberties. We have the right to fresh air and fresh water and fresh food. And what we've done in our community is that we've educated people about sustainable farming. Not only that we have the toxic manures, but you're getting pit remedy, which they're putting in the manures. All the pharmaceuticals that are going in the animals are going in the manure. So it's something that you really need to think about. These are hazards. This isn't the way God designed, for us to be, getting our food.
Where do you live? You might want to tell them what's going on with the house.
Because we had to stop. We had to stop paying on our mortgage, and we're living in a rental home now where it's safe, because the off-gassing was so bad coming into our home, we couldn't stay in our home. So that's my husband's in Iraq now, and he's not able to live in his home anymore, and his family. So if you guys ever need to get a hold of me, you can ask me for my name for Facebook, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Thank you.
Excuse me. What township and county did you say you were in?
We were in Delta, Pennsylvania, and that's York County.
York County?
We're right on the line of Maryland.
Peach Bottom Township.
Maria Palin.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, firstly, to do this meeting. I think it's good to get all the facts out on the table. I asked Diane to come up. The one thing she did forget to say, and I know she gets nervous when she talks, and it brings up a lot of things that the family literally went through hell for years, and we went through the same process. And they said, everything's going to be okay. Everything we told them has happened. Their house has 2 for sale signs in front of it. A farm with 2 contaminated wells. It's been on the house market how long, Diane?
A year and a half.
Any offers?
No.
Everything they worked for their entire lives, down the drain, for one person. My name's Maria Payan. I'm from York County, PA. I'm executive director of a nonprofit group, Peach Bottom Concerned Citizens Group. The first thing I want to say is that Act 38 specifically has language in it. The municipality and zoning has a duty to protect the health, safety, welfare of the citizens. Commonwealth conceded as much in the prefatory language in the actual bill of Act 38, which its purpose is to regulate municipalities when local government units exercise their responsibility to protect the health, safety, and welfare of their citizens. Second-class township code talks about the board of supervisors may make and adopt ordinance, bylaws, rules, regulations not consistent with or restrained by the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth necessary for proper management, care, and control of the township, its finances, maintenance of peace, good government, health and welfare of the township and its citizens. Again, we keep hearing health and welfare. We can go into Section 607, duties of supervisors, charged with general governance of the township and execution of legislative, executive, and administrative powers in order to ensure sound fiscal management and to secure, again, health, safety, welfare. Section 1506, general powers. These are all things. I can go on and on. There's a growing body of research studies that talks about CAFO'S and their impact on the health and the welfare of the community. Act 38 was passed in 2005. There is a misunderstanding that Act 38 does not allow communities to write ordinances. It is totally false. As a matter of fact, you can look into Cumberland Township. Last month in Adams County, just passed an ordinance that restricts factory farms in residential areas because they don't belong in residential areas. There are health ordinances, which does not go against Act 38. These have withstood court challenges. They have withstood the appeals. So do not come in here and say, we can't do anything. The Attorney General can give an opinion only, an opinion. And please keep in mind that when our governor, now sitting in, ran on a campaign, that he was going to make DEP a partner with industry. Okay, zoning provides the harmonious existence for all citizens. A major element under the code is to have zones for all reasonable uses. The major reasonable use in a residential zone are all activities related to enjoyment of personal property. People who live in a residential area have the right to enjoy their property. They expect correctly to be protected by you from any use in their zone that would infringe on the right. They should not have a threat of any large-scale industrialized operation being allowed in a residential zone. They should be able to garden, open their windows in the summer, have picnics, and their children should be able to play outside without noxious odors and threats to their water, air quality, and property values. It's not a perfect world. Whether it's a car, a refrigerator, or a CAFO, things break. I live in a township with a cattle feed lot across the street with underground manure storage, 100,000 chickens across the street, 2,450 pigs up the street. Our community has experienced problems with all of the operations, all of them. The poultry operation across the street had a mass mortality, 20,000 birds which were composted on site. The result was this: flies for months which infiltrated our homes, The odor of 20,000 decomposing birds kept our community locked in their homes. People in our community experienced bacterial infection, even our pets. My son, on 3 occasions after bathing, experienced blisters all over his entire body and had to be rushed for medical treatment. Do you know what it's like to try to put a child in a bathtub and have him cry because he's scared to take a bath? Or when he goes to school and invites friends over, and one of the biggest farmers in your county who farms sustainably, this family, tells him you're not allowed to go over there because their house is contaminated. This is what you're dealing with in a residential area. He had blisters all over his body, had to be rushed to the hospital 3 times. Contacted DEP, there's a report included. They did not come out until 3 weeks later, until I gave media the chemicals running across on the surface of our water and handed it to them. Then the next day, DEP was knocking on my door. At that point, they told me it was too late to test the water. It was after the fact. That will be the response you will get. It happens in every community I go in. Their budget was cut 27% a couple years ago, 10% last year. It is cut again this year. We have mass industry in here with the Marcellus Shale. Please don't think they're protecting you. They are not. Each CAFO is supposed to be inspected annually. This does not happen. I've had 5 years of reports requested in the FOIA, which show between 1/4 to 1/3 are inspected annually. There's much peer-reviewed and published research which documents the health effects of both workers and nearby residents on these large-scale poultry operations. The dust from these operations increase asthma and cause respiratory problems. There have also been studies by flies which document, the antibiotic-resistant pathogens which are blown out of the fans and carried by flies which can travel 1 to 2 miles. You heard Diane talking about MRSA. Her husband had it, she had it, it was eating away the bones in her nose. How many operations?
2, 3.
3. All right. A good number of residents in my community have been diagnosed with rashes and MRSA. Neighbors have had their wells contaminated, had to put expensive filtration systems. Diane and her family, you just heard about, they can't sell their house. Their entire life savings is being sacrificed to the greed of one person. No one wishes to buy a 20-acre farm with contaminated wells. Act 13, which is the Gas Drilling Act, which the legislature passed, and they did intend to make it a right in every vote. Residential, I don't know if you realize, but that was just declared unconstitutional in Commonwealth Court. I will read you the judge's statements on this. The court declared the law sections unconstitutional, null and void. It violates substantive due process because it does not protect the interests of neighboring property owners, alters the characters of neighborhoods, and makes irrational classifications. Regarding the state's argument that uniformity of statewide drilling standards justifies overriding local zoning control, the court observed that if the Commonwealth proffered reasons are sufficient, then the legislature should make similar findings, requiring coal portals, tipples, washing plants, limestone and coal strip mines, steel mills, and industrial chicken farms, rendering plants and firework plants in residential zones, concluding that it would allow the proverbial pig in the parlor instead of the barnyard, meaning otherwise, proper thing in an improper place. Even the Commonwealth Court recognizes industrialized farms don't belong in residential zones. One last thing I would like to add in here is that there was a permit that was just approved recently in the township for 2 43 by 500 foot farms. Any reporters who would like a copy of the permits approved, I have them for you afterwards. It's interesting to me that 2 43 by 500 foot barns with light water and dirt floors have been granted without any information on their intended use. It's an obvious attempt to circumvent Cleveland Township Ordinance Article 5 regarding a rural agricultural district. The project is now presumably a poultry CAFO to be located across the street from or nearby to 16 beautifully established homes in an area zoned R2, which 85% of the residents have submitted a petition.
30 seconds.
Okay, you will be receiving a letter, the township, from attorneys who we'll be taking action on that. In closing, 30 seconds, there you go. This is what you got to look forward to. Dead chickens on your property. This is after manure spill all over the street. This is after the cleanup. Sand they throw down before rain. Here, dead pigs in the yard. This is what you got to look forward to. Spreading. Oh, my son's back with blisters when he comes out of the tub. Spreading manure on top of snow. Look at the blizzard. You can't even see the spreader. All of these will be available for anyone. As a matter of fact, I'll leave these here with you guys so you can think when you make your decision. Thank you for the time, and I hope that you will do what's proper to avoid ruining these people's lives. It is in your power. Robert Hinn.